Hey folks, it's us at GNAT News. We're once again in the studio. We're with one of my favorite people, financial advisor Todd Walker of Greenvest. So thanks for coming back again.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
What are you hitting us with it today?
Well, probably not one of people's favorite topics, but an important one, and that's about annuities.
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 I've heard they're bad, Todd.
Well, that's the problem. There's just a lot of mispress and about them, and some of them have been abused. It's most financial products and companies. There's always some bad performer, some bad player. But annuities are actually go back to the Roman times. So, and it's very interesting because there's a lot of misinformation about them, and people are unaware of them or the workings of them, even though most people, most of you, own one. Is that Social Security is an annuity.
Got it.
And many company pension plans are annuities. And all the annuity really is a form of investment, a form of saving that has a different objective than any other kind of saving vehicle, because the objective of an annuity is to save towards a future income. It's not, you're not saving for a lump sum. Sure, it's probably going to grow.
Right.
But you're not saving for this lump sum. You're going to save for a time where you're then going to turn around and start paying yourself back out of the account. But the thing about annuities is you could do that yourself with a mutual fund or banks or whatever and just start taking out XYZ a month. But what an annuity does is it basically, you have the choice of guaranteeing yourself an income for life as long as you live, which is what a pension is, right? The old-fashioned pension, company paid for it, and they'd say, look, you work for us, you're going to get to a certain age, you can retire, and we'll give you 50% of your salary for the rest of your life. That's the old pension. Not many of those around as much anymore. Now it's more defined contribution plans, which is 401ks. But there are still defined benefit plans. And most of the plans, the teachers and the public plans, the public annuities, are what they call defined benefit, which means the state's paying for it, you might be contributing a little, and then you pay it off, for your life.
But I couldn't call my 401 an annuity.
No.
No. Okay.
But just to confuse it, the laws just changed that they're going to be allowed to put annuities inside 401ks. But I won't get into that now.
I got you.
So
always changing.
The interesting thing about annuities is that, like most financial products, and what I love about financial products and talking about them and learning about them, is they were created for a need. In banking's obvious, you had to protect your load of gold or whatever back when. Where the annuities, the need was actually started by the Romans. And they had faced they had a need, they had a desire. They wanted to have government workers stay on the job and come work for them, qualified people. And one of the ways they were going to do that is give them a perk. And the perk would be, if you die prematurely, your spouse will have her needs taken care of for her. Back in those days, they were all men working, of course. And so that was a very powerful benefit because these people were stationed all over the empire. They might not see their spouse for years. So to know that she was taken care of, this was a big benefit. But immediately they came across the problem that, well, we want to be efficient with this. We only want to have to put aside enough money to pay this benefit, only what we need. So how do you calculate how much to put away if we don't know how long the person's going to live? So this started this whole science, which has become this big science of actuarial tables, where essentially life insurance companies and annuities, they're in the business of figuring out how much money do you have to pay for premiums for life insurance or annuities or whatever, based on life expectancies, which they get through serious surveys and the government and the census and all that. So that's the history of annuities. And annuities went on and became, they disappeared during the Middle Ages, of course, or Rome kind of disintegrated. And they came back in the, 1700s, something like that. And they're still very much alive today, and they provide this way that people can save for a future income. An annuity is a savings account, essentially, provided by insurance companies. So you're putting your money with the company. So it's no FDIC insurance, but there is state insurance that I might have a time to get to in a bit. So the company holds the money. And so it's very important that you go with a very strong insurance company.
Got it.
And they're rated by AM Best, which is a rating service which rates them from A to C or D or whatever. You don't want anything except an A class. But they're managing this money. They're out there buying bonds or real estate or whatever to make an investment on the money to make sure that that money's in place for you when you need it. It's three essential types. There's a fixed annuity, which sort of works like a CD, not FDIC insured, which we have to say. But they give you an interest rate, and that interest rate can change every year. It can be set for 5 years or whatever. And it's just, they pay a rate of return, an interest rate. And the thing about it's interesting about it is that they typically pay more than CDs. So I will say that, the fixed annuities. So that's a fixed annuity, very simple. Those are the original. Then come to somewhere in the 60s, early 70s, when mutual funds became very popular, the insurance companies, who used to have a lot larger percentage of people's savings than they do today, because they offered annuities. The annuities were big back then. Big, everybody had the. They started to lose market share because all they had were these fixed annuities, and here were all these mutual funds from people like Fidelity and Vanguard and others who would pioneer the mutual fund. And Pioneer is actually the name of a firm too. Anyway, they started losing market share, so they actually created what's called a variable annuity. And that's essentially the same chassis in a way as a fixed annuity, but you could also, besides choosing the fixed account, this would pay you interest, you could pick these sub-accounts, they were called, that would actually be like mutual funds. And you could invest in stocks and in the stock market.
Some years are better than others.
And that would really make your account grow in good years, but also could go down. Your value could go down.
Right. Okay.
Some variable annuities were not as strong as others. Some were sold without revealing that there are higher internal costs, because when you buy a variable annuity, you have to pay a certain internal fee to the insurance company to run the whole program.
Those fees again that Vanguard kicked butt on.
That's right.
Right.
And then at the same time, you had to pay a fee to the mutual fund company that was behind these sub-accounts. So you could have large internal fees, and those weren't always revealed to people, disclosed as they should have been.
That's where the bad name
That's
came
where the
from.
bad in my opinion.
Yes.
Very variable annuities.
Yep.
The third one is what we offer at GreenVest, specialize in as a tool when annuities are appropriate. We're really, our major business, as we've talked about so much, is investment portfolios. So we're doing stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and asset allocation. But we will use this kind of annuity, the one I'm going to get to next, where appropriate, because we really like the way it works. This is called a fixed index annuity. So here you have, it's fixed annuity chassis again. You can invest in the fixed account that just pays you an interest. But you can also choose something called index tracking accounts. And what these do is they track the various indices, like the S&P 500 or the Russell 2000 or the NASDAQ 100, or the S&P mid-cap. So you can take a certain portion of money and track this, and then they will set a cap of what you can make during the year. So let's say the cap is 6%, and the market goes up 20%. Well, you only get 6%, which sounds like a lousy deal, but the other part of the fixed index annuity is your money, your principal can never go down. So it can only kind of ratchet up over time. Versus the variable annuity, yes, you get the whole return of the market.
Right.
It could be 20% like last year. But then you also get the flip side, of the downward. So this is what we like about the fixed index, is that for certain uses where people are looking to protect money and want to have a future income, this is a way they can invest where they cannot, if the insurance company survives, which has not been an issue, but cannot lose money and can only go up. And so what we've seen is that these fixed index annuities with caps of 5 or 6% will actually outperform bonds. And yet, when you think about it, they actually give a better guarantee than bonds, because bonds can go down in value. They do, not if you hold it to maturity, but during it can go down because of the market. Fixed index annuities can't go down. So we use them. We find them very valuable. There's some other great benefits about them, which is that all annuities grow tax deferred. So that's the other big benefit, that for people, especially of higher incomes, they're looking for ways to basically shelter their income against current taxation. So in the end, you're going to, when you take the money out of the annuity, you're going to be taxed on it, just like a traditional IRA that we've talked about.
Right.
But along the way, because it's tax deferred, you're not taxed every year, so that money can grow much faster. And so that's a big, huge benefit of annuities that we like with the fixed index. We use fixed to 2 occasionally, but the rate of return is not that great these days.
Okay.
But
so I don't want to.
No,
I don't want to jump, but so we've got
Jump.
these three types of annuities, and are any of them backed by the government, or are they? Like when I put money in my savings account, FDIC.
Yep.
Does anything like that occur in the annuity world?
Yes, and it's an interesting fact, and situation, because in fact annuities are insured by states.
I see. That's
There's
what you mentioned
state
earlier.
pools of money.
Right.
People don't understand that insurance companies are not regulated by the feds. They're actually regulated by the states.
Got it.
And so every policy that's available in Vermont, for example, has to be approved by the Vermont Department of Insurance.
Right.
And so it's a very, and there's a pool of money maintained by Vermont to pay policy owners, they're called, someone who buys an annuity or life insurance called a policy owner, to pay off policy owners in case the insurance company collapses.
And I'm assuming that's run pretty well.
Oh yeah, well it's Vermont, come on.
I'm assuming.
No, it is, yeah. No,
right.
They are, but the thing, the interesting situation is that they don't want insurance agents to use that as a promotion device. So I can talk about it now because we're doing an educational show. Right. But I can't, you'll never see an ad. You'll never see an ad saying, get this annuity from whatever in Vermont, state insured. You cannot do that.
Which is funny because as a customer, that's one of the most important things I need to know.
Fixed index annuity insurance companies, and some sell all three, are not under tremendous, threat in a meltdown. In fact, our clients were buying these way before 2008. And so 2008 was one of those nice things where even we weren't insulated, obviously, from the drop in the market. Yeah. But our fixed index annuities just stayed level, because remember I said they go down, your value stays level. Right. And there's another benefit about fixed index, is that the other thing that you'd want to see is every time it goes up, because of the 6% or 4% or whatever it is, if the market only went up 3%, by the way, for the year, you'd get 3%. You're not going to get 6%.
Right, because it's below the cap for the year.
Good for you. So,
got it. Okay.
So the big thing is that every time it goes up, that becomes your new floor. So let's say you put in, I don't want to make it, 100,000 for second math, but you don't have to put 100,000. Yeah. But if you put 100,000 in, or accumulate over time. So annuities, you can either accumulate a little bit at a time, like you do with Social Security, or you can put in a lump sum. But if you put in that, let's say 100,000, and you had a 6%, the first year, and the market went up 7% or something, you would have $107,000. All right. So that becomes your new floor. Now it can't go below 107. So it nicely, you not only are your gains protected from taxes, but they're actually protected from loss. Even your gains are protected from loss.
So 107, 108, 109, a recession goes back to 108, but you're still hanging in there 109 because they can't lower it on you.
Can't lower.
And then for the next 20 years, you're climbing. Lots of firms offer this besides yours.
Well, we're just an agent on it. So we're not,
so
we're not
just so you folks.
Yes.
Lots of firms do it.
That's right. Yeah, it's been a lot about me.
And the other question is this. So this. The third one, it's the indexed annuity?
Yes, indexed annuity. You can call it that too.
It's an indexed annuity. Yeah. So obviously there's a certain age where maybe this should definitely be in your portfolio? Or is this something you would start in your 20s, or do you say to me, Haas, in your 20s, don't do it because you have your whole life to get market turns. Yes, they go up and down, but this is really for something as you're nearing retirement, you're in your 50s or something, and this is really where you start trying to hang on to principal at all costs. Meaning what you've saved over your lifetime. Am I saying this all right?
No, what's scary is I want the whole public to know that we did not rehearse this. And that's a really wonderful question. No, we didn't. You're just coming up with these. Because, no, it's what a consumer, but that's why we do this, because Haas really plays the role of really the buyer and the consumer, and what would a consumer ask. And that's really true. That's absolutely right. Their annuities are for middle-aged folks, I would say.
Okay.
Because you're right. If you're younger, what you want to do is, typically we talked about in previous sessions about investing, is pedal to the metal. I mean, you're going to go as aggressively as you can because you can replace that money with your salary over time if you lost it. This, you're into the protection mode. You're absolutely right. And you're also beginning to think, you know, I'm not eternal. You know, you always think when you're younger, nothing's going to happen to me. But when you get to 45, 50, you realize, I got to start thinking about retirement. And as you think about that, then you think about, well, I've got my 401k and I've got my IRAs. They're building these lump sums. But I also want to make sure I have an income no matter what.
They always just say as you get close to retirement, you start going 60-40. 60% stocks, 40% bonds. But those bonds, it seems to me like they're going up and down, and they're not paying really anything, or they're getting scary. Whereas this indexed annuity sounds like it sounds like almost one of the most stable things you could buy for your money as you near retirement now, because they're at least guaranteeing you a 6%. My bank isn't guaranteeing anything.
Well, it's another remarkable question. I mean, it's perfect because what we've seen over time is exactly that. So we have a portfolio, and we'll have stocks, and we'll have, and this is true of other providers, stocks, mutual funds, bonds, bond funds, and we have that 60-40. Let's say it could be 60-40 as you get older.
Right.
You get old enough, it should be 50-50 or even less.
Yeah.
So of the 60-40, but we found that the fixed index annuities were doing as well or better than the bonds, and they had much less apprehension for clients. I mean, that's what they like. They say, "Oh, this one can never go down." Now we don't want to put it all there because I should have said earlier, these don't perform as well as stock and bond investments over the long term because they are capped to a certain amount.
Right.
They're not. You don't want to use them as replacements, in my opinion. Plus, there is something about annuities that I wanted to get to, and that is, like CDs, they do lock up your money. They can be for 7 years or 8 years or 10 years. The reason is, of course, the insurance company is investing your money for the long term on their part, and they don't want to get nailed where you pull
So
your
once
costs.
I give them $100,000, they're hanging on to that.
They're going to hang on to it. There's a penalty. You can have it back, but they're going to hit you with a big penalty.
Gotcha.
So, but we wouldn't want to replace all the stock and bond investments with these things. But in the fixed income portion of the portfolio, 60% stocks, let's say, 40% fixed income, which would be cash, bonds, we realize these can be in there too. So we actually now, to many clients, will say, well, not many, I think a good amount of clients, will say, why don't we just take a certain amount of money and allocate that into a fixed index annuity in your fixed income section. However, because we're fee-based providers, and many people are now, we talked about that, we charge an annual fee for managing the money, we will actually take that amount of money typically out of our GreenVest portfolio and put it over with the insurance company directly, because it's not fair for us to charge a fee when we're not managing anything. They're managing the annuity.
Otherwise it turns into those bad guys who are double feeing stuff.
Well, yes. I guess we won't get into that. It's not a whole explanation. But
fees.
You can't do. I mean, people have done it. See, this is what I mean. There are very gray areas, and you don't want to have an annuity inside a fee-based account unless it's a special kind of annuity that this can go on. This particular one, we didn't do it. So we put it over here, but we count it in our overall performance reports that we deal with the client. So that was a great question. I don't trust anything absolutely. When it comes to financial work. I mean, I just don't. That's why we talked about before. My clients, I advise, they have so much in the bank, so much in the market to get the opportunity, and so much within the insurance company world. Because there's separate pools of support from the government, of insurance from the government. FDIC is for banks, SIPC is for brokerages, and these state pools are for insurance. So I like to spread it around. So I don't want to put too much in any one thing. So that's why, some in Social Security, Social Security may not survive, but it would be what would happen. I mean, if it didn't, the country wouldn't survive. I mean, it wouldn't. Something would be so wrong.
I mean, it would just it would be over. Right.
Yeah,
That's right.
one for yourself.
All right, folks.
And
Okay.
then the music comes up.
And the music comes up. All right. Thank you so much. Todd's going to be here for others throughout the coming months, and
Yeah.
so we'll see you all again. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.